Welcome back to Viewer Discretion. I know you're expecting Mina Kimes. She is off on vacation. She will not be abandoning you, though. She will be back on our Sunday episode, or I guess our Monday episode, recapping the finale from an undisclosed location. She's so committed to the game. She's so committed to Love Island that she will be coming back to chop it up with you, David Dennis, who's also here, our true star of the show, our co-host, relationship analyst, to go over all things of the finale on Sunday. But my God, David, do we have a week of television to break down?
If you listen, if you turn the volume up, listeners, you can hear Mina in the background screaming. You can't do this because we're doing this show.
Oh my God! And by the way, Mina is doing this show in spirit. We got so many texts from her over the course of the week. Like we know where she stands on all things Love Island.
Yes.
So we should start with that. You said you can't do this. We're gonna knock out the Cierra exit. She was removed from this show. It was discovered on social media that she had put out a story and an Instagram post, both using a racial slur towards Asian people. There's been a lot of consternation about how she was voted off, the fact that production knew about this, I believe, for 10 days. What I'm seeing online is that production was notified of this for 10 days. They mulled it over. There was sort of a mutiny online. She lost hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers. David, how do you think production handled this? And did they go about this decision the right way?
My initial thought, like the cynical thought that I have, is I wonder if this happens where they kick her off, if not for the Nicolandria thing in the background. You know what I'm saying? Like, it made for better television to have her not on the show. Like, that's just indisputable. And they also sort of back themselves into a corner with the Ulyssa thing. Like, this is one of those things where you kick one person off for slurs, and now you have to kick another person off, but then you like get into this argument of like which slur is slurrier, and like you police these things in a weird way. Like, this happened 10 years ago with one of them, and like maybe this was years ago. Like, people, like, you get into this slippery slope of how do we, as a reality show, Love Island, right, police like different, like police slurs, right? And you kind of, when you do it the first time, you kind of just, that kind of has to be your modus operandi. You kind of got to do it as soon as you find this out. And I'm sure that they were also thinking like, oh, how, like, could we end up with a show where only 4 people are made because we don't know what else is out there? You know, like, there's so much that goes into it, but it's an impossible situation. But I think there's more than like morality that determined when she got kicked off.
100%. And like, I looked at this from the producer angle. Like, my background for the audience, I produced television with Highly Questionable. I've worked with David and Mina for years on this stuff. And the number one thing you learn as a producer is protect the show and protect the people. In this type of situation, it's impossible to protect the person. It's not something she's saying on the show. It's something she said before. Right. And I know the production probably was watching the reaction to this online, which is very Love Island. The show is in certain ways really shaped by the internet reaction to it in stuff, because since then we've had another non-scandal scandal. Like, this one wasn't a scandal. It didn't pick up steam online. There's videos of Huda where it's a Zapruder film of people breaking down if she sang the N-word in a song on an Instagram story, where she had like a massive video filter on, where I honestly might not even have recognized her if they hadn't said that this was Huda.
That was her, right?
And that didn't pick up steam. It sort of became a debate. And as of now, as we're taping this on July 9th, there's nothing that's going to happen with Huda. And I don't think that there will be something that happens with it. So, like, do I think that they did a good job of protecting the show? No. I think they waited too long. And I think that their intentions with it also were sort of off, where you live to fight another day. And I'm not saying this to diminish what Cierra did. I'm doing this for the audience experience, where it's like, you know what? If they had kicked her off sooner, I promise you the audience wouldn't have been that upset. To your point, people wanted to see Nicolandria anyway. Cierra's sheen had started to wear off as we started to see that she was less and less genuine with her fake, like, I'm a girl's girl. It's cool that they explained this connection, or explored this connection.
Yeah, the Cierra thing, because also, like, there was questions about, I mean, I know when we first saw it, we had questions of like, how does an Instagram story for all these years ago like surface now? So I'm sure there was some sort of investigation that went into it that was a little bit deeper than what they did with Ulyssa. But yeah, I think a combination. It's sort of like when you have when you have an NFL where you have somebody gets kicked off the team or they don't get re-signed because they suck more so than like the actual thing that they did. Like if there's like if they were like rushing for 2,000 yards, they'd still be on the team, but because they're not good anymore, we can cut them. And Cierra, like you said, the shine had worn off on Cierra. We were already starting to see this as somebody who was trying to win a show and was becoming a meaner version of herself. And like there was questions about her genuineness, and the votes were starting to reflect that. And you have all this. It just became a perfect storm for them to be like, let's do something that feels like the right thing and get her out of here.
Yeah. Do you think so? When we had that little soundbite, this is the first thing you mentioned off the top of the show. We had a soundbite from Olandria's confessional, and it seems like we heard a screaming, "You can't do this" in the background. Right. You think that was the moment that production did this? And do we think that the ITM interview is close to the production room for that? Because that was the key to me that made sense, where it's like the producers talk to people, they tell them the questions they're going to ask, they put them in that well-lit sort of sepia-toned room, and then have them go. So like to me, that's probably close to the control room. Yeah,
probably. And then also there was speculation that the Taylor date with Clarke was all sort of like distraction for them to like get this thing, like handle this however they handle it. Because she's sort of in there in the mix during that stuff. So there's all that speculation that was a scene that was sort of, put together so they can get her out of there while that's while this other thing is happening off screen.
That makes so much sense. I didn't put that together because they were so dramatic and they were trying to be so fun during that date. Yeah. And it was a huge personality flip from Taylor, which we'll get to that. And the last thing I want to put a button on this, Zach went on Instagram. Sorry, spoiler alert for later in the episode. He is not still on the show. But he went on Instagram and TikTok, put out a video that was sort of explaining his side of the situation. Production pulled everyone together except for Cierra, who was at this point either off the show or being talked to by production, and said that Cierra is being sent home for a personal reason because of something she said. Yeah. And that Nick was really upset, but couldn't be, and this is his words, couldn't be too upset because she said something inappropriate enough that you could no longer be on Love Island.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And you have to assume that everybody at this point knows why Ulissa's not on the show anymore. Like they had to have known, whether it is from production or people who came on later on the show who had witnessed it when it happened and said, "Yo, this is what Julissa." So there, in your mind, if you're Nick, if you're somebody else, you're thinking racial slur. Like you got to be like understand that that's what's going on. And for somebody like Nick, that's probably easy for him to be like, okay, that's the end of that.
To me, that like. I'm looking at it from the producer angle. I actually think you have to go to these people with honesty. Like, even if we think that they're like sort of silly Gen Z people, like removing someone and not having them on the show, like you could have a walkout. Like Nick would have left the show. I think if they were like, this is bullying, you're removing Cierra for no reason, for a personal thing. Like you have to be honest with them to keep the integrity of the Islanders, like taking it seriously. Because I don't think there's any way we would have gotten Nick and Olandria giving it a real shot if Nick felt like he's like, oh, I'm just going to go maybe like hook up with this person in LA after the show ends.
Yeah. I mean, you had to. The way that Nick moved on, the way that everybody moved on, Olandria, everybody, like the way that she was kind of like, I don't feel bad anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like seems to indicate to me that everybody is like, cool. That's fine. We're fine. She's gone.
And we know this because like they cry about every single person who gets voted off, like them or not. Ace puts on all black and gives eulogies. If anyone in his OG core 6 leaves the show, he gives them living eulogies and sits on a couch and proselytizes about what they meant to him.
If Amaya is fine with it, then like everybody should be okay. Like if Amaya has not cried for like 48 hours straight in mourning over this, then I think everybody's cool with it.
Last thing that I want to, and we'll move on to all the fun after this, but I have to ask you about this. Have you seen the social videos of Ulissa and JD hanging out after the show?
Yes. Yeah. Losers of a pod, like stick together. I'm so like JD, the JD crash was immediate. Like you made Huda look good. Like that was, you gave Huda maybe her best scene of the whole season. Because of the way you acted, and then you go hang out with Ulissa, like get him out of here. He seemed like a weirdo anyway.
It was like a double. It was like I almost wonder if there's like an Instagram DM being like, we can both prove America wrong. Ulysses like, I'm not racist, and JD's like, oh, I can actually hang out with like, I'm fine. I don't need to like be passive aggressive and undercut them in really inappropriate ways every time we speak. It's not working on me. It's not
at all. Not at all. It's just two bad people hanging out together. So
okay, let's pick up with a quick chronological breakdown of the week's shows. We knocked the Cierra stuff out off the top. We started this week right after the Stand on Business challenge with sort of one of the big moments of the season where Taylor stood up for himself and said, I picked Clarke. And it was actually a good moment for Taylor and Nicolandria where they were both honest. They weren't playing to the cameras. Like in this sort of polished world, we saw them be normal for a second. Yeah. And we moved to the spider effects or the spider web off of that conversation where brilliant move by production here. Yeah. They made all of the guys huddle up together and all the girls huddle up together and just sit in their pile of insults. Like you have Austin sitting next to Ace at this point, who's just eviscerated him. You have all of the girls sitting together except for one. That's Huda, who is sat off to the side, has like the red crying eyes and is sitting in the other direction. And no one checks on her until Amaya, who's like, Huda, what's up? Are you okay?
Yeah. Well, the thing was, Huda, we'd sort of mentioned this before, because Huda seems to be the type, and this became a meme. Huda is the type to like walk into the room and sigh until you ask her what's wrong. And like she did this earlier after her and Jeremiah had sex, where she was just like, I wish I could tell you guys what I did, but I'm not, which is like the most annoying way to tell somebody something.
Well, also, especially on this show, like we've seen this over the course that more people have hooked up. And I'm like, I actually don't think, this is fast forwarding a tiny bit, there's the Bryan and Amaya hideaway, but like, I think it's pretty clear production and Bryan and Amaya talk to each other and be like, we're going to be open about this. We're not going to be coy because it's annoying to the other Islanders. They know we went to the hideout. It's weird. It's like in this show, it's not disrespecting your partner by being honest about you guys hooking up. That's part of the expectations of being on a show like this.
Yeah. I mean, part of the lore of Love Island is the code words that you use and the language that goes from season to season where they use different ways. Did you have your journey? Did you do, like that's part of like this endearing element of Love Island. So like everybody talks about it. You're in black light or whatever it is, like infrared light, where everybody can see it happening. I'm assuming that there's some sort of consensual, like we're going to show Bryan's toes throwing up gang signs because he's in like bliss with Amaya in the hideaway. Like that, I think that's part of it. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. I still don't understand why people don't use the bathrooms more for this stuff. Like, I don't understand how we wake up every morning with being like, ooh, something happened with you guys last night. But this crash out led to her being, she was basically upset that she wrote a note about Pepe, where she said, you liked Hannah more than Grayson, blah, 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 blah. And someone called her. Yeah. Word for word. I hate saying that, but like, that's actually what was said.
Well, this was the Huda moment. This was like the definitive Huda moment where everybody is saying, whoever sent this note is the meanest person we could ever imagine on the island. That was unanimously the meanest note possible. She goes to bed. Before she goes to sleep, she tells Chris, I wrote the meanest note that anybody could ever imagine. She goes to sleep. She wakes up and the first thing she says in the morning is, I'm tired of being looked at as the bad guy. You did the worst thing. You did the absolute worst thing. And everybody says it and nobody knows it was you, baby. They assume it was you. You did the thing that everybody has agreed to be the worst thing. And then now you're mad that people are looking at you bad guy. And they don't even know that you did the worst thing.
And she did not stand on business. She left the note anonymous, and she wasn't upset about the note because she thinks the note was right. Yeah, it kind of was right for the record. Yeah. But she was mad that people were mad at her for writing it. Yes, and we saw about 30 seconds of her sort of pouting around the makeup room. Yeah, we've since heard from Andrina that she slammed all of the drawers in the makeup room since Andrina left the show. And it was like an actual crash out that went on for half an hour, and everyone was like, "What the hell's going on?" Huda, if people didn't think you wrote that note before, they knew in that moment.
They know now. Yeah, and there's been reports out that there were conversations with Huda about Huda with production about like how far we're going to let this go with the way that she's treating people. And I think that has played a part in the edit. I want to skip ahead. The edit to this last episode that we saw on Tuesday night. about how we're looking at Huda and how the votes are, and production being like, maybe we need to get certain people out of here.
To the Huda stuff, I think that if I was producing that show, I would have probably legit. I'm saying this from a place of empathy. Early on in the season, I would have really pulled Huda and Jeremiah and been like, and talked to the other Islanders, being like, "Are you okay with this? This is like verging on someone who is like mentally not handling this type of pressure of reality TV in the right way." And I do that as like, I'm trying to characterize the actions, not the person of this, because this is not real life.
Right.
And it's clear that she's not totally equipped to handle this situation. Being in a fishbowl where she made herself the protagonist from the third episode of the show, second or third episode.
Yeah. And we could talk about people wanting to win. Huda, I don't think is trying to win reality show. I think she's having real life, very intense emotions about these things, which, you see that a lot of times. You see people who go on these shows and they're like trying to play the game, but then you see people who have real life emotions, and Huda's having her real life emotions, which are clearly making people uncomfortable, and clearly, but also clearly making people online have a Huda hive. Like Hurricane Huda has a hive. There are people that will defend her to the ends of the earth.
Do you remember a reality star being this polarizing during a season? Where, I mean, there are plenty of people who are polarizing where they have like a lot of discourse, but I don't remember someone like there's no middle ground on Huda. People are either incredibly frustrated or like, she has 2 million Instagram followers. I think that's a huge reason why she's still on the show. Like, production reacting to trends. Like, she had all the things about, oh, she's the people's princess. She's the most relatable. Everyone's gone for a guy who's not as into her as she's into him. And she's had the biggest gains in social media. Do you think she would still be on this show without the social media backlash to the backlash, making her like, I guess, a fan favorite? Is that fair to say? Because she has this big of a social following?
No, she wouldn't be on the show because there were 2 times where she could have been voted off, and there seems to have been, she was not voted off. Like she was, and there was clear reasons to vote her off. She was not in relationships with anybody. She wasn't exploring anybody. She'd been left on the island, and they kept her on because at that point she was the star of the show. And to answer your original question about polarizing people, I think the only other person that's just polarizing is Ace. Like, I think Ace and Huda are 2 people. I think there's something about the Love Island itself where, and I think that's a function of the fact that the production does not know where the show is going. So you do Love is Blind, and you can create the narrative from beginning to end because you have a full year. You can, produce the first episode and then you produce the last one, and we know exactly what this person is about. With Love Island, you don't. So you get some of the like inconsistencies, you get the hypocrisies, you get all of that stuff that make them like fully fledged characters, to where I love this part of them or I hate this part of them. And you have two totally opposites, which is how Ace can be at the bottom. Like, one group of people can think Ace could be at the top of boyfriend material, and he's at the last. And all, like, I just think that it's a function of Love Island that creates these polarizing figures.
Yeah, I went through, I'm a reality TV historian, and I tried to go through 2. I found 2 that I thought were like very polarizing.
Okay.
And I don't know if you ever watched MTV The Challenge.
Yeah.
So early CT. And CT is like, we watched him grow up. Right. We really watched him grow up on TV. Look, I think he's actually a lot more complicated than Huda. He went on that show. It was after his brother had gotten murdered. He kept on getting into fights in Paris. And this extended for a 4 to 5 year period where he fell in love with someone on the show who was battling cancer. And he became like someone, she died right after a season, and he had this huge life change, and we saw him grow up. But some of the stuff he did early on was like heinous. And it was someone where it's like, we saw the good and the bad of him, and it really polarized him. And eventually we saw him grow up and become a fan favorite. And I wonder if something like that is what production thought could happen with Huda, where it's like, this person's different. She's been through a lot more than some of the other Islanders. There can be growth here. This can be a redemption story, because they've clearly tried to edit it like a redemption arc. And then the only other person I could think of is from the most viral season of The Bachelor, which was the Hannah Brown season. And there was this guy, Luke Parker, who, look, he ended up just being a villain. Everyone hated him by the end because he was a born-again Christian who was remarkably misogynistic and judgmental. And despite the fact that he had had a lot of sex, he judged her for not being a virgin, because he had a moment in the shower after having sex where he decided that he was spoken to by God. And he ended up being like this horrible misogynist, but it really split people for someone being like, this person has ethics. This person has been like, cares about his religion. He's not willing to compromise. And other people being like, yo, this is really up. This person's gaslighting and horrible about it. And I remember watching that season, which actually reminds me of season 6 of Love Island, because it was the nadir of the franchise when it started getting influencers after that, because the season went so viral because of these characters, that we got this last moment of someone who now wouldn't be cast. Now wouldn't be cast in that thing, because it's like you don't have respect for the process and the people involved.
The CT one is interesting because he has become like this lovable dude. We've also seen his like physical appearance fluctuations. And he just also was dominant. Like he's the most feared dominant dude in there. I think
the LeBron of the challenge.
Right. Pretty easily. Right. The person, when you were saying polarizing, that comes to mind is Omarosa. And
it's a great one.
Huda feels like Omarosa of this season, in that like you look at her and it's like she's cold or callous, which in Omarosa's case, then the other one is like, this is like girl power, woman empowerment, boss lady type stuff. And Huda's a different thing, because it's like, is this mom? This is a mom, like after the baby episode, Mamacita, right? After the baby episode, it was kind of like she had PTSD and was triggered by a baby crying and stuff like that. That could cause these things. And Chris and Brian seem to be sympathetic to it. So there's that part of it too. And then there are these, you get these moments with Huda where when her and Chris are like, when he's struggling with basically saying, I don't have a job after this, like nobody wants, she's kind of really supportive of him.
Yeah.
And you get this kind moment, and then you get this moment of like, where she's not great to him, and that complicated nature of it is like a relationship. It's like like we're going through any relationship with somebody where we see the beauty in them. And then it's like, now you're like infuriating me until one side wins out. Like we're on the ride, just like Chris is, which again is not something like, if this was Love is Blind, we would only get her like fighting, arguing the whole time. Right. But since they thought there was something with her and Chris, production that is, you get the good sides of it too. And so you don't quite, you're kind of in the middle. It's being fed to us in a way that we're not used to as reality star people.
Regardless of what it says, it is interesting. When we all think about it, it is interesting. The dynamics and how it shapes the house. Like, I think this season, when we look back on it, is going to be largely defined by Huda and the reaction to it. Okay, let's get into the first big thing that happened this week, which was the ranking of the Islanders. We've talked around it a little bit. We have a challenge where the Islanders have to guess how America ranked them. And it's on 3 topics: most genuine, boyfriend material, and couple you would most like to go on vacation with.
Yes.
On every single one, Ace puts himself at the top.
Yes.
And the Islanders put Amaya somewhere in the middle.
And to their defense, the guys put Ace at the top too. Like, and the women, everybody on the island puts Ace near the top at all the things. And
we know that he's largely in charge of this. And Drina has said that the group of the house, the mood of the house follows Ace's mood. Yeah. And when he's happy, they're happy, and he's sort of in charge of this stuff. Well, the votes were not like that. The votes are much closer to the way that we analyze this. Amaya, who had been bullied during Stand on Business and actually seemed like she was going into this whole experiment in good faith, is put to the top over and over again. Pepe, Iris, and Chris are also near the top. And, the women put Pepe near the top a bunch of times. But the big shock from this is that Ace and Chelley are at the bottom of pretty much everything, except for Ace is near the top of boyfriend material. And Taylor and Clarke are the bottom of every single thing.
Everything, yeah. It felt mean. It felt like mean and unfair to Clarke, who I don't think has done anything wrong the entire season. And everybody acknowledged it. And Taylor, to his credit, acknowledged it too. Like, she hadn't done anything wrong. She showed up. She liked it. She did exactly what you're supposed to do as a CASA person, right? You show up, you like somebody, they like you back. And it was clear, very clear, that he liked her more than he liked with Nicolandria. And that she just liked it. They just liked each other, and they put her at the bottom. It felt like America was bullying, which is ironic because we love Amaya, but we were also at the same time, we were loving Amaya, especially after being bullied. But now we are bullying Clarke for no reason.
And a huge part of it is America does love Nicolandria. And like everything you look at Nicolandria online, like she is a person who's is really lovable and accomplished in certain things and has gone through a lot. And it's like, it's very relatable. And, everyone's also been in a relationship. To me, that's the more relatable, like, he's just not that into you or she's just not into you relationship that everyone has gone through in their early 20s. But no, when I look at this show, like Clarke might be the most normal person. Like if I was just to hang, like, I mean, Pepe's up there too. But like, and Iris and Chris are very nice as well. But Clarke just seems like a good hang and she went in and none of it was fake. She wasn't disrespectful to Alandra at all. And it felt silly. And also the irony of this is rather than get defensive about it, Clarke and Taylor, I thought, had their like best week on the show where they're like, all right, well, we're not doing this anymore to make people like us. We're doing this because we actually like each other, which was like a distinct change in their behavior.
Yeah, I think everybody on the show from the vote, every single person on the show pretty much changed their behavior based on those votes, except for Clarke and Taylor. They were just kind of like, this is who we are. This is what it's going to be. We can't change it. They probably knew they were getting voted off. Like there was no question about it. Like they were just like, we're just going to enjoy this time that we have together. We're not going to be influenced by that stuff.
Yeah. And it was actually like, I actually do think it changed their behavior a little bit. It just made them be like, it made them happier in certain ways. Like there was no performative aspect. I know that there was the date where Taylor actually like, showed more lovey-dovey stuff, something that Alandra would have loved. But like, even within that, he was just cool and hanging out with her. This is sort of I think the climax of the entire season, seeing how much America is connected with Amaya, and that she is a fan favorite, and it completely flipped the power dynamics. Like Ace went from in charge to Amaya is, I'm not saying she's in charge because I don't think that's the way that she views this stuff, but she is now a central character and also sort of the voice of morality in the house. We see people asking her for advice. They go to her for things. Things are run through her in a way that is completely antithetical to what we had seen for the first 27 episodes.
And I think probably production was telling people, you got to go talk with Amaya. We need more Amaya camera time, because the episode after where she is now with it became the Amaya dating show. It became, we're going to find, it's kind of like Flavor of Amaya. Like that's what it was. It was like, we've got to put her with Elan and Zach K and Brian, and she's in this love square thing. And I would imagine that production was kind of like, we need more Amaya camera time. Chris, you got a problem with Huda? Pull Amaya and have a conversation with her. Like get Amaya as much. We have hit on something special here as a TV personality, and we're going to put more of her, wild sayings on here. We're going to put more of her interactions on here, and we're going to make sure that she gets in the hideaway and has her moment.
And by the way, genuine joy. Like I don't actually think that Amaya is like overthinking any of this. I think she is just genuinely happy that she's like not being criticized or ostracized for being into people. And the one thing I will like, we'll talk about Zach and Elan. I don't think Elan actually, he had said, quote unquote, to Chris, damn, Amaya's bad a few days before any of this stuff. So like he was clearly physically into her. He had essentially been closed off from Cierra, who went on that date with Nick at that point, and was like, oh, I'm going to get voted off. I'm going to shoot my shot with someone I think is really, really hot. Zach, on the other hand, quickly became an Ace acolyte and was like, I can ride Ace to bullying Amaya, and then turned around and was like, I need to apologize. I'm actually still romantically into you. And Amaya, to her credit, was like, he's a very handsome man. I forgive Austin. I forgive Zach. Like, I'm not holding grudges on this stuff, which I don't think she was doing for any clout. I think she actually just didn't hold grudges. And like, that's the point of stand on business. I'm okay with this. But she called him an extremely odd individual, but forgave him and was like, we're not gonna have any romantic connections. And I actually like this. She did something that I would have done in this situation, was like, basically I was like, I was right. You hurt my feelings, but I am really sorry for the way that I talked to you, because that's not who I am. And like everyone has those moments. It was nice to see her realize that in real time and be like, I have some responsibility too. I raised the temperature of this situation by screaming and cursing and talking in a way that I wouldn't have talked normally.
Yeah, I think one of the benefits of the Amaya screen time is we're getting a full-fledged person in a way that we were not necessarily getting before. Like we're getting like, it's funny when she's like, Belgium makes pancakes and all that stuff, but like this person is also very clear about what she wants. Is a nurse and like knows how to code switch.
Mm-hmm.
And because when she told him that he was an extremely odd individual, that thing cleared up. Her voice cleared up and code switched in a way like I was like, oh, she's talking to a patient. Like Amaya, we got to see a lot of her in a way that I think that production did not plan on showing us after that vote. And I'm with you. I think that vote saved this season. It really did.
I agree.
We were in a position where we were looking at a bunch of people that we did not like and Amaya. And when everybody sort of realized that America is seeing through all of this trying to win the show.
Ace and Chelley.
We saw through the gaming of it, saw through people trying to win, saw through the Cierra stuff even before her getting voted out. We were looking past the gamesmanship, and it was just like we just want genuine people being genuine. I think everybody, for the most part, pretty much, maybe I'm being naive, stopped playing the game almost immediately, and it made for a better show.
Can I ask you about that? Do you think this week was a good week for Ace then? Because we're jumping around, breaking structure again. Because Ace's personality did a complete 180 this week.
Yes. I think it was a great week for Ace and Chelley. I think this was like their week to sort of redeem. Because if you think about where we were a week ago, it was they're trying to win, they're voting off people who are in relationships, and there's something nefarious about what's going on. And I think what they realized at the same time was this is not working. Like, this ain't working for us. Like, we are not gaming the audience. We're not gaming the voters. We're not doing any of that stuff. And let's just go out there and try to have fun, like try to be cool with people. And I think that we got a better Ace. The Ace and Chelley date, like the s'mores date, was a legitimately adorable moment and probably their best moment of the whole season.
How does Chelley not know to make s'mores? Like, that's impossible, right? Like, how do you do this?
Folks are, it's a cultural thing.
I was about to ask this.
With that fire, man.
Is this two Americas? Is this like an overtly like white dude campaign?
I think so, man. I think I think it was what we're looking at. Chelley's like, I'm not. Chelley saw that fire. I was like, I'm not messing with that. I think it was a real cool moment. I think it was like their best. I think it was their best moment. They had we got some of their real conversation, and I think production shifted too, which I think is important too. I think production shifted to be like, let's show some of these different conversations. Let's linger in the frivolous stuff that they're talking about. And they had I saw somebody on social media say this is like a legitimate rom-com scene, and they had it. And I think that we're getting better Ace and better Chelley as a result of it. Because also I think it's important to note that once you get to a certain level on the show, it does not totally matter if you win or not. Like we saw last season, there were 3 couples, one couple won. We don't really think about them as the couple that won. It's just one group of 6 that became lovable in the show.
I mean, even some of the people who didn't have couples who stayed for a long time last season have like Rob's on Traders now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
By the way, small sidebar on that, Ace has to eventually be on Traders. He'll be one of the great traders in history. It's a game where it's actually just being a game player. So I'm on 2 sides of this because one, I think if you had to tell me a couple that I think could date for years and end up together, it's Ace and Chelley. Period. Full stop. I actually think that the way that they hang out with each other seems incredibly normal this week. Like the fact that they aren't over the top in PDA, but they're really comfortable with each other.
The baby thing was a little tough, but yeah.
I kind of like the fact that they didn't actually give a about the toy babies. They were the most realistic about this, being like, it's a toy. Like, they had the exact opposite of Huda being like, we're not ruining our day. Like, we're in Fiji. We're not ruining our day over these Cabbage Patch dolls. But the cynical part of me did think a tiny bit that I think Ace is abnormally smart for a reality show like this. And because he lives his life completely through social media validation and likes, when he saw the Amaya vote, it affected his behavior more than anyone's in a way that was like, I actually need a new strategy for this. And so at first I was like the date with Taylor and Clarke, I thought he was over the top performative, being like, they got to see funny Ace. When he jumped on the table when Amaya and Bryan were sent to the hideaway and started doing TikTok dances, I was like, TikTok dances get likes. Ace is in his bag here. But it was the small moments with Ace and Chelley when they're actually just talking like normal people. And I was like, this is a production decision to show that they actually have vibes. They actually like each other. They can actually hang out like a normal couple. So I see both sides of the Ace thing. Because if you left this week and were like, this dude's a fraud, I would get it. But I also, it's like the couple, them as a unit is significantly stronger.
Yeah, because the thing was with the stand on business, the thing that I struggled with was I don't know how many of these couples actually like each other. That was how I felt. I was like, I don't think anybody actually really likes each other. And I think production made a decision to like show that. And we got Ace and Chelley, in their moments where they look like a couple. We got Taylor and Clarke in these moments where they look like a couple. Nicolandria, they always got the fire. That's cool. But even Pepe and Iris kind of felt more
Pepe is a type.
Yeah. Pepe does have a type. And they felt more coupley. And I think that like we got to see, because that was my big thing, was like, I don't really feel like any of these people actually like each other. And I think now coming out on the other side of this, Ace and Chelley, they have good chemistry. They like each other. They take each other on dates. He is like, there's this, if anything, his performativeness may be performing like a more realistic version of himself. Like he's like the performance is, I'm going to be more upfront and tell you about how I feel about you and all that stuff. It may be performance, but it's also probably closer to who he really is.
I kind of like, by the way, as we get to the end of this season, that some of the couples that are together are genuinely geographically possible.
Yeah.
Which is, and I'm going to include Huda and Chris in this, where they both think they're going to end up in LA. Pepe and Iris actually look like someone you could see walking in Santa Monica. Like their couple look is like, and they both live in LA. Brian and Amaya were talking Boston, New York, who'd be willing to move where you want. And they were like, it was totally fine. Like they could probably both live in New York after this. And it does take away some of the summer camp feel where it's like, oh, we might actually date at the end of this. Yeah. Tiny bit of housekeeping on this summary, because we bounced around a lot. There were a lot of eliminations this week before we get to the biggest stuff. Like after America ranked the Islanders, they had to go through the lowest voted people. And the Islanders had to choose which ones to save. Taylor got saved in this. It was between Taylor, TJ, Austin, Adrina, Jaden, and Grayson. And the OGs won out. Taylor had the support of his group, and that was pretty standard. And then there was a second elimination. After Cierra's removal, there was a recoupling, and Zach and Eland were eliminated. And this is when we found out that Nicolandria was a real couple after episode 30.
We're back, baby. We're back. We're back. Come back from a 3-1 deficit, 28-3. Nicolandria, it does not matter. We are back. Against all odds, we're back, baby.
You feel like this should have been the couple the entire time, right?
Yeah. It should have been and I think that colors how we look at Cierra too. It's like Cierra, you feel like she got in the middle of this Nicolandria thing, right? But I also think their couple has benefited from the like circuitousness of how they got together. Because I don't know if once this thing, if they'd been together from the beginning, it might have fizzled out or it might have gone a different way. Like this way that they're going with the like, will they, won't they? Will with Nick being like, I don't know, like giving Cierra a different kind of energy that he's giving to Landria, like getting close to her, losing her, coming back. I think like that is what makes this. Again, I will say what I said last week and more firmly. We are looking at our definitive TV relationship of our time. Ross Rachel ain't got nothing on them. Jim Pan, like this could be, like, we look back on that kiss, and if they sort of have another one or like have another moment, this could be like, in terms of television in the post monoculture, whatever age, this could be the defining will they, won't they relationship of our TV time of like the decade.
I want to get to the question of if we think they can actually win the show.
Yeah.
Because that's overcoming an immense 1 seed in Amaya. Like that's a huge upset. But like when I watched this, I thought their conversation separate from each other was the most genuine look at this, because the women were really sweeping. Like, are you physically attracted to Nick? Yeah. Because he's obviously a very different type than Taylor. Even his love language, the way he communicates is very different than Taylor. and Alandria seemed to be drawn to someone who was, just giving breadcrumbs, not giving everything. And she was like, "Oh, we have a friendship, and like he's hot. Like I'm into this." Yeah. And when they asked Nick about it, any question of who he was more attracted to or who he liked more went out the window. He's like, "We got into bed. I was nervous," which is like the fact that you're nervous is like, that is okay. You're a teenager again. This is great. And he was like, and then she like cuddled up on me, and he's like, "I got the fire." The dude wanted to have sex in that moment, and he was like, if there had been one more gyration, one more inch, like he was basically saying I would have had a Rick Pitino moment. I would have lost in my pants. I'm not even like, that was the implication. I'm not editorializing there. And he was basically like, this is the most, and he has been with, Bella and Cierra. He has been a hot commodity. He has had beautiful women be into him, and he didn't actually care that Bella looked like a Victoria's Secret model earlier in the season. He was into Sierra's like physical nature initially and how sexy she was. And with Alandria, it's completely different, where he's like, I have a friendship, and he's like, I'm also just so much more physically attracted to her.
Yeah, and I think he admires her. He's super and it was so fascinating is his family is all in on this. Like if you follow Nick's mom and sister on social media, the family had a ticker tape parade in the living room with him.
They had a cake.
They got a cake. They had their own supercut ready as soon as she picked them. They had a supercut at the ready for this. Like they are super into this. He's into this, and I think the conversation that's really fascinating. We talked about this, I think last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, about Alandria being into white dudes, pretty much, right? And her conversation with Chelley was really interesting because it felt like she was seeing like how, if that was okay. Like not if that was okay, just kind of being like, hey, I'm kind of into this white dude. Is that weird? What do you think? And then Chelley affirming her in that moment and being like, no, I love it for you guys. It's great. I think that elevated Alandria and Nick's relationship to another level, to have that sisterhood moment of being like, hey man, what do you think about this? And I think that pushed their relationship further.
That, and I actually thought they had this conversation in the last episode where they were talking about their backgrounds and the things that they were into. And we found out that Alandria's an Auburn fan, and Nick was like, what? You're from Alabama, and you like, oh, sweet Cam Newton year. That must have been awesome for you. Right. Tough time since, which was like a genuine fun moment. But also they talked about travel. They talked about upbringing, the way that their parents raised them. And I thought there was a little bit of feeling out, being like, I want to make sure you're not a country club white dude.
Yes.
Like that you're worldly, that you're into exploring other cultures, that you're not, because this is a 3-week experiment, and if she had been so focused on Taylor and they'd had a friendship thing, I'm sure lots of it was surface level. And I think the one thing we know about Alandria is she actually wants values to align.
Yes, and
I think this was like dipping her toe into the pool, being like, if we were to date or hook up, would I be embarrassed about you?
Yes. Let me tell you, she ain't got nothing to worry. Nick is pulling up to the Tuskegee homecoming in October. He's coming. He's going to be there, and he's going to get a standing ovation when he walks in. He is going to be celebrated at the Tuskegee homecoming game. I don't know who they're playing, and they're going to show him at halftime, and the crowd's going to go up. I cannot wait for Nick to pull up to Alabama and have himself a good old time.
I love it. I'm actually like,
Nick's gonna be playing Kappa grad chapter in the fall.
I mean, they did like, I mean, we'll get to this at the end. Nick looked completely fine stomping with all the guys in a line to have Taylor and Clarke have their date.
Yes, indeed. Why and Nick? We've seen the videos. We've seen the videos of Why and Nick with his homeboys, like in like some boarding school or something like that, doing gun motions at the camera. Nick knows what's up.
Yeah, I think he's been a huge winner of this week. He's just more fun with Alandria. He's more fun, and it seems more authentically himself. And like, I think maybe this is because Cierra had a history as an influencer before going on the show, where he just seemed more guarded, more like, I need to do this a certain way. With Alandria, it's like, we're probably not going to win. This is, who knows what's going on. This is so late in it. Like, I'll give it a real college try on this one.
Well, because the thing that's like, I've been really fascinated with the idea of these people not knowing how famous and popular they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so the hilarious moment is Nick being like, Nicolandria. And it's like, no, we already have a hashtag for you. You don't know. And it's like,
your name is Nicholas without an H.
Right. Like you have, it's an alternate universe where you live, where you do not know what the world thinks. And which is why when it's just them and Taylor and Clarke at the end, there's genuine nervousness there because they are late as a couple. And they do not know what America thinks. Like when it got down to those two couples, there was no question that they were going to win. But they don't know because they don't know that all of the United States of America is rooting for them to be a couple. And they're just kind of sitting there in their own nervousness. It's so fast. It reminds me when Alandra didn't realize that Meg Thee Stallion knew who she was. And like when they get out in the real world, they're going to see that they are this mythical couple now that everybody's rooting for.
They also just they look great together. Like just for the record of this, they both like physically look comfortable with each other. Like the touching is never awkward where they've like taken it from friends, but like they're also just, even for reality TV, just two really good looking people who look good together.
Yes.
Because there are always like, there are beautiful people that make weird couples on reality TV all the time. And you're like, not going to work. Nick and them, it's like, to your point, if they actually went to Tuskegee Homecoming together, it would seem completely normal that those two people would be dating in the real world. Like they're an attractiveness match.
I'm in Atlanta, as people know. If I'm going to Tuskegee Homecoming just to see if Nick and Nicolandria pull up, I will be there. I will be there. It's a 4-hour drive or something like that. I'm pulling up and I'm going to hang out with Nicolandria.
By the way, we had a text from Mina and she said, the scene where Nicolandria laughed about Taylor and Clarke finishing last is the best chemistry we've seen on the entire show.
Yes. All their teeth, all the smiles, and even this like weirdness of like when you're with somebody you kind of like and you don't know how to touch yet, they're like laughing and kind of touching each other, but kind of not touching each other. It's that awkwardness, that beautiful awkwardness of like a new relationship when you're both wildly attracted to one another.
It's fantastic. So in this episode, the other important thing is the recoupling where Amaya does choose Bryan, which seems like a layup because he had stood up for her at Stand on Business, and they are elated. It's actually one of the true happy moments of the show because we've been waiting for Amaya, our new overlord, head of the villa, who's brought positive vibes and sunshine to Fiji after what seemed like a storm for 3 weeks when everyone was like, is Love Island fun? Summer's supposed to be fun. Love Island's fun. And we get to see, like, to me, this was also completely genuine. Amaya was just so happy to have chosen someone who genuinely likes her. And I know it's been pushed about online. It's like, how into Bryan is Amaya? I think it's really simple. He thinks she's really hot. He's happy to be with her, and he's happy that she's so happy. If it turns into something long-term or outside of the show, whatever. In this moment, I didn't think any of it was fake.
Right. And she feels validated after having been bullied for like 2 weeks for liking dudes too much, essentially. Now you have some guy who's really into it, who did not like Andrina as hot as she is because he was like, she's kind of boring. He wants that sort of spice that Amaya has, and he's getting it, and she feels really validated. And there, even if it doesn't work out or whatever, she has this validating moment, which is beautiful to see after all these dudes ganged up on her and treated her like she was a lunatic because she liked dudes a little bit more than they liked her. It moved a little fast, relationships, and doesn't quite know how reality shows work. It's like she just likes people, and this isn't a weird thing for her to like people. Like she cries and screams and cries when somebody she knows for 2 days gets voted off the island. This is just
she stands up for her friends too.
Yeah, she stands up for her friends, and Bryan is into it, and it's a beautifully validating moment for her.
No, it's just genuinely fun to see her be happy, and like us having not defending her because we feel like she's being gaslit, but being like, oh, this is a fun person to root for because she's giving us the thing that we want in reality TV more than anything, which is someone authentically having fun.
Yes. Yeah. And again, it made the last episodes of everybody leading into the fun possible because everybody's following. They were following Ace's lead of gaming and trying to look good on TV and trying to come up with these dates that feel good and things like that, and like performative coupling. And now they're just like, oh, actual joy is what people want, and we're going to lean into that. And it's so much of that is because of Maya like sticking to her guns and being herself the whole time.
100%. And so this leads us into the baby episode, which is largely, I mean, it's largely a nothing burger. They get given toy babies. They all pretend that they're really stressed out. Some of them take it more seriously than others. Pepe and Iris leave their baby on a table and go hang out, which is great. Huda takes it like incredibly seriously and is yelling at Chris for taking a bonnet off of the baby's head. We find out that Nicolandria initially think that their baby is a girl named Hilton. They switch it to a boy named Marcel. Nick wants to name it LeBron, which would that be the most accomplished and famous Bronny if that was the Bronny?
I think so. That would be the number one Bronny. Have you seen the Marcel kid they found on the internet?
It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Oh, that kid's getting flooded with comments being like, "He's real. Marcel is real." I love that's just good internet.
It's good.
Great
that's
internet.
Good. I think one of the things from this season, from the last few days, is we're getting so much like old school good internet that we had not been getting before. The memes are okay, but like the way that people are embracing the positive, like this is what season 6. This is why I loved season 6. Is that everybody loved each other and it felt really good. And we have some Ewing theory here about Cierra being dropped from the team and them shining. I made a comparison of her to Drew Bledsoe, and now we have a bunch of Tom Brady's running around making everybody happier.
It's amazing. We were talking about this. I thought of the John Hollinger article that was basically like any team that traded Rudy Gay got immediately better. And it was like, look the part all-star, put up amazing stats, going to give you 21 a game, but your offense is going to go into the dumpster. Yeah. I mean, this was really fun, but this did portend to the last dark cloud that we have this season of Huda taking things way too seriously, and Chris, who, and this takes us into episode 32, where Huda and Chris really start to get into it. And we had lauded Chris for his conflict management. He does tell Huda he likes her. He does solve things by saying sorry, even if he just knows that that's an apology goes a long way with someone like this. But he doesn't actually, until episode 32, say how he really feels about these things. And this is Huda turning away his PDA to kiss because she's seeing if she's going to be noticed, while also having sex with him in the bedroom area. And he's confused by that. Her not letting him explain himself and cutting him off, which you can see the frustration where he's like, I give you time to talk and vamp and get your feelings out. You're not giving it to me. And I see Huda's side a tiny bit of this because she's clearly been scarred by the way that the Islanders perceived her drama with Jeremiah. But with that, in my mind, she's misremembering it a tiny bit where they actually were upset about the drama. They weren't upset that they were into each other.
They were not they were not upset totally that they were kind of, I mean, I guess Ace and them were saying like, hey, you got closed off immediately, which I get, but there's nobody else on the island. You know what I'm saying? Like there's nobody else for you to explore. It's the finals. Like you have your lineups, stick to your lineups. You're not going to pull the 10th guy off the bench now when you're in the Eastern Conference Finals. You know what I'm saying? Like there's nobody else there. Everybody's coupled up. You can make out with this dude in public. And he tried to bring it up to, I mean, I think there was a way where he brings it up and she's like, oh, my bad. Sorry. I'll do better. And that's fine. But also I think it's important to note that during the baby scene, when they're having their thing about the baby, at the end of that conversation, she's like, you want to go make another baby or something like she did this with Jeremiah, where she uses, like she throws, when there's a conflict, she's going to throw the sex in there to kind of make it better. And I'm sure that also didn't feel good for a dude who's like, can we just kiss in the cheek in public?
It's that. And also like Huda's not realizing that other people have insecurities too. Yeah. Like Chris, if I'm Chris in that situation, of course I'm confident I'm a 6'8" pro basketball player who's handsome, but like he also has to think like, did Huda just want to stay on the show by being with me? Like what's going on here? Why are you embarrassed to like give me a peck on the cheek in public? And to me, it's like that was actually lack of empathy from Huda, not realizing that the other person has needs. She's so focused on her personal needs and how she's being treated that she doesn't see anyone else around her in this stuff. And it's like, to me, it's actually like, it's like nails on the chalkboard to watch because she's so not emotionally capable of thinking about what anyone else is needing or feeling, and having to be incredibly defensive and push people off and explain her side. And she's been validated for it by the producers and by the other Islanders that she's still on the show to this point, that I don't think there's a world where that changes. Now she like views this relationship.
It'll be really interesting how the vote comes, because I think that the producers are ready for her to move on. I think like she lost some of her clout with Amaya being voted ahead, so highly on the show, and Huda became not as necessary to the show anymore because she is not now the driving force of the narrative, right? We love Amaya. The Nicolandria stuff is there. She's not essential anymore. And so
people even like Pepe and Iris. Right. People like that these two normal people are giving it a shot.
Yeah. And now you have a situation where production the show has given us like 20 minutes of you making this dude's life miserable. And then we go into a vote after that. I think the show was sending a signal that, hey, it's okay for us to move on from Huda.
This is, by the way, where Taylor and Clarke get sent home. They don't. They did this vote where we don't know the order that people were voted in. Mm-hmm. They make it very clear, and so it ends with Nicolandria and Taylor and Clarke up there, which is the perfect thing, obviously, with the background of Alandria and Taylor. But before we get to that final two, when Huda and Chris get picked, they look like, oh my God, like Chris looks there. He's like, I wish I got voted off.
Yes.
Like, I actually wish I could fly back to Europe and just go play basketball right
Yes. Now. I give you my 2 points, 2 rebounds over this any day of the week. I don't want nothing to do with this.
He's the Islander who said, like, I don't need this. I have another job. Yes. I can just go back to the hoop. And this was like, I don't know if you had this feeling, like they let him play basketball. We're going to spend some time on this because this is one of the best parts of the entire season. One of a true change of the alpha guard and who's in charge of the dudes group. But it was like Chris touched the basketball and he realized, he was like, oh, I remember, I actually do love hoop more than I love Love Island. I am fine going home.
Yes. I like dunking and people like cheering me on instead of some lady screaming at me about a Barbie doll that I didn't change his shirt the right way.
And so we lose Taylor and Clarke. It's actually sad because they had their best week. They seem like good people. We got to know Taylor a lot better this week. They leave the island and Ace gives a eulogy, a living eulogy to Taylor, where he's like, I thought the three of us were going to be together forever. They all hugged. And Nick is actually like way more normal about this. Like Taylor's bummed. He's sort of shocked and he's bummed. And I'm sure he's frustrated where he thinks like, oh, people only wanted to see me with Alandria. This sucks. But Nick is like, hey guys, we get to be friends after this. This is all good.
We get to hang out after. I mean, Taylor, because also Taylor and Clarke are together. You know what I'm saying? Like they close the thing off. They'll be fine. They get to go to their own hideaway, whatever hotel they're staying at, and spend like 2 days together before they fly home. They're going to be fine. I kind of wish that they got to stick around, clearly Huda and Chris wish that Taylor and Clarke got to stick around a little bit more.
I do too.
But we got some cool moments from them, and I'm glad they got to have that before they left.
We skipped over quickly the hideaway. Not much there. It's nice to see that Amaya was so happy. She looked great. Bryan was like really, really into it. Any questions about how into each other they were afterwards was squashed by that. But the most important part of the season, they sent the boys to play a 3-on-3 basketball game,
buddy,
where one team was captained by Pepe, one team was captained by Chris. When you were watching your scene, what was your first takeaway?
My first takeaway was Taylor knows how to play basketball. That was the thing that threw me off. Taylor had a nice reverse layup that threw me for a loop. I wouldn't have bet in a million years that he would have made that. And we're getting a thing where this is a shaming ritual for Ace. Like this was the thing that they were doing to like humble Ace for whatever reason.
Did you ever have the thing when you were a kid that your dad lifted you, like cranked the hoop down to 8 feet and lifted you up to try and dunk? Because they did that to Ace, and my dad did that to me when I was like 5 years old. That might be the most like paternalistic thing they possibly could have done to Ace.
Tough for a 5'10" dude to dunk,
Yeah, it's tough for a 5'10" dude to dunk.
The most important question from the basketball game: did Pepe travel? Was it a travel?
I can't believe. I mean, by the letter of the laws of travel, it was one of the. I can't believe they called that. Chris, it didn't lead to him getting by someone. It was clearly just him showing off for the camera. Pepe was actually making shots. Chris was playing bully ball. Dude, you're 6'8", draw the double, get other people laps. We saw almost everyone could play basketball there. We saw Taylor make an awesome
the reverse layup. He made a reverse layup that I could not believe he made. And I was like, I see Taylor in a whole different light now after that one lefty reverse layup that he hit after a back screen. With an incredible pass. I could not believe he made that.
I was shocked by how, I mean, they barely showed Bryan and Ace playing basketball, so we know that they were the worst too.
Yes.
Nick's jump shot was fine. Pepe is, I mean, obviously, people online have been about this. They're saying, oh, he wasn't that good. He barely played at Cal State for Fullerton. He played in the 4th division in Spain. That dude's a good basketball player. Let me be clear about this. Anyone who's pretending because he rode Pine for a couple years at Division I school, that happens. Sometimes there's a log jam, sometimes whatever. That dude was was like clearly a very good basketball player. Nick's jump shot was fine. Taylor was good. Chris, I mean, he's a really good athlete. Yeah. I do wish he played a little bit more like a point center in that game.
Yeah, you can't when you're in the paint and you're bullying Taylor for a layup. Like, come on, dude. You don't need to do that. Like, I don't want to see that. I want to see you got to go out there and take some perimeter shots or drive to the hole. You don't bully ball dudes when you're so much taller than everybody, when you're a power forward. Poor form.
The only thing I wish he had done was post up Ace. Because the visual of it, first of all, we know Ace would have been scrapping. Yeah. He would have dunked on Ace. And if he had done an Allen Iverson step over on Ace on the ground after the way that Ace tried to do that. And by the way, regardless, I wish the women had gotten to watch that game. It would have been awesome because their opinions would have changed of everyone, just like the guys did. Like the guys walked back and they were making fun of Ace.
Yes.
They were like, Ace won the game. Ace dominated. Which is something that 2 hours before never would have happened.
Yeah. And Ace was like, I don't lose. I'm not going to lose. And it's like, you don't really have a say in the matter who wins this game.
Oh, no. I mean, they showed Ace's only highlight of that game was 1, getting lifted up, and 2, driving on the baseline and trying to dump off fast where they cut away from it. And we don't see if a layup was made afterwards. They showed him what was likely a turnover. That was his highlight.
Yes. Yeah. It was a, for a group of dudes, especially Ace, who like consider themselves like alpha male type dudes. It was, a humbling moment for sure.
Yeah, but the rest of everyone else was pretty good. Like I was Nick and Taylor being able to play and like catch passes and make shots with guys who are professional players. Like they equipped themselves really well. I have no idea how long the game went. It might have gone on for like an hour for them to get to 11, and maybe we only saw a couple highlights. But like the jump shot form was fine. Everyone could handle the ball. Also, to the Ace thing, Taylor kept on saying like, "Shit, like." Check up, little man. Check up, little. Like another thing where you like Taylor more, and I'm not even height shaming Ace. Like if you're boys with him, you got to make fun of the fact that this dude is scrapping around a basketball court like he's Mickey Mouse. Right. Like if they hadn't said that, it would have been weird.
And, and to Ace's credit, he was a good sport about it. He seemingly
he's great sport.
Great sport about it. Really, like I'm thinking about if Chris had to post Ace up, Ace would have probably just jumped on his back. You know what I'm saying? Like it just like fouled him and like had a good time, and everybody would have moved on.
Yeah. No, I mean they all actually like. It's nice that they got competitive about it too. At the end, you could tell that like they really wanted to win that game. They knew Chris was probably going to win. Pepe was like, I got to make as many twos as possible, even though I'm shooting on a basketball court at the beach. It was probably impossible to shoot on that hoop.
Yes. Yeah.
With the wind, it was probably impossible to shoot. And so they were like, we got to play rocket ball here. Chris is going to get a ton of ones. We got to make twos. What would Daryl Morey do in this situation? Joe Mazzulla is coaching this team. Like we have to have a chance.
Yeah. That's yeah. I mean, that's it. I think, I think we got to figure out, the ruling on the travel for Pepe. That was a big moment, I think, because it was kind of like, because it was one of the first things we saw, and it was like, dude, like, why are you trying? And then it was like, but he's taking out the ball. He's doing the inbounds pass. He can kind of do it. It was just a weird. We got to figure out a ruling on that.
Yeah,
but I do want to say after the show, after the game, was a cool moment. I think the guys sitting around talking about how much they were into the women was a really cool moment. Which we don't get a lot all the time with, especially like black men on TV, especially reality shows and especially the way that like you think about the show started, and it was kind of Taylor being standoffish and Ace with the Amaya thing, and now these dudes are just sitting around and Taylor's talking about how he thinks Clarke is the one and he loves spending time with her. He can't get enough of her, and Chris is like, "You're gonna make me cry," and Ace is the way he looks at Nick when Nick is talking about Nicolandria. and the way that Nick's like, I got to get those crispy edges on the pancakes. And to even Taylor, I was kind of annoyed at first. He was like, that's my dog, because he was kind of like being dismissive of Alandria when Nick and Alandria got together. But he was just kind of like, I don't know, offering his expertise on how to date Alandria as if he did that the correct way at all. But I guess he's trying to be helpful. And like these dudes having these moments of like being emotional, even Ace and Taylor hugging at the end. We just do not see a lot of those portrayals of black dudes getting these like emotional depth that we get. And Nick, to his credit, as being the only white dude in a group of like non-white dudes, being totally comfortable and being totally himself around everybody. And I think it's like really good to see those moments, and we do not get those enough on TV. And Love Island has presented them to us. And I think it made everybody a lot more endearing than they would have been.
I mean, this is what we watch for. Like, we watch for the laughs. We watch for Amaya Papaya. We also watch for like, it's as much fun to watch people do right as to embarrass themselves. Like that's it. Otherwise, they're completely two dimensional, which was the problem the season had earlier. So adding depth to these people, even if it's late, like I know that you and I probably both wish this. I want them to like go into overtime, extend the show for a week.
Yeah,
like
I
now that we have vibes,
more, like I would have taken the week that we had last week from the stand on business all the way to before that, and then like add another week of them just having fun and being themselves. Because Love Island is it's supposed to be. That's why I think the Cierra thing, and the way people feel about her and the Ace and Chelley and so much of the backlash. Like, this is not the reality show. Like, we watch Love, of course we do Love is Blind, and we do The Mess. Like, The Mess is really funny. The mess on a lot of these shows is where it's at. Love Island is not really about the mess as much as it is about the genuine connections, the genuine emotions, the love, the support, all of that stuff. And I think we kind of strayed away from that. And now I want another week of us getting back to that, because it feels very soon that this thing is over. And I feel like it feels like a lost opportunity to have had more Ace and Chelley being normal people, more Pepe and Iris kind of hanging out and having their moments. Because like when we look back, one of the sweetest moments before they got together was when Hannah left and Pepe was in the bed together, and Iris reached over and like just held his arm and was just like, "Hey, do you need something? You need me to be here for you." Which the producers, of course, did not know that they were going to get together. They just included that in because it was just a sweet moment. And those are the sweet moments that we get from Love Island that makes it different from the other reality shows. And I want more of that. Yeah,
Pepe had known that Iris, even though she's single, doesn't like to sleep alone and goes to her friend's house to do that. And it was like, you can sleep in the bed. Like, this is not me hitting on you. Like, it was like, that's the only reason the Pepe and Iris thing I think has really worked, because it doesn't seem fake at all. It seems like people actually, and it might just be situational. They might leave the island and never want to like do this again. But like, the situation is they both need someone here, and it's not to stay on the show. It's because they need like a connection. They aren't loners. Neither one of those people are loners.
Right.
So great week of Love Island.
Yeah.
Should we do a quick power rankings?
Let's do it.
All right. So actually, I was going to write these down, but I'm going to speed run this. And Brian, our producer Brian, will put these on the screen as we go. Top of the power rankings. This is the Ken Palm rankings, the BCS. Everyone knows this is obvious. She's crushing everyone in every stat. I got Amaya at number 1.
Yes, absolutely. With a bullet. I'm number 1 and on an island. Amaya, and I don't think anybody's really close to it right now.
Yeah, I agree with this. And like, I did this largely based on vibes. I think Amaya does have great vibes. I also think she's gonna win the show. Unless Nicolandria like truly falls in love, I think she's gonna win the show. A lot of this for me though is also coming off of who would be the best hang. It's a mixture of who's performed the best and who's been the best hang, which is why my rankings might differ significantly from Mina's. The next one I have is Iris, who I actually just think is like overtly normal.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay.
All right. So I have Amaya, Iris, followed by Brian, who just seems like a good dude. He hasn't really crossed anyone. We haven't gotten a ton of personality from him, but I think that's working in his favor a good bit. And then I have Alandria and Nick.
Okay, as one. As I like the Nicolandria as one. I'm with it. Yeah. I mean, Ace and Chelley may have something to say about who wins this thing because people still seem to love them, and they had a really good redemption week. I think it's down to Nicolandria and Amaya. This is just kind of what we're looking at. It's LeBron versus the Warriors, and we'll see if Amaya just has enough power on her own to take on a twosome of Nicolandria.
Yeah. Next, I have Pepe, who I think had a really good week. Most aesthetic basketball player. Just seems like a very nice person. We heard him talk more this week than we did in the prior 20 episodes. And he's like, it's not fake. He's just a soft spoken guy who is like, who is like pretty honest about where he is in this stuff. And like, might be pretty boring, but like, I could probably hang out with him for an afternoon, play some pickup and walk around Venice Beach. It's not horrible. It could be worse.
Pepe and Iris versus Huda and Chris, which I think is going to be, they're going to be the last two out. That's going to be fascinating because I want to see more Pepe and Iris. I think Huda Chris, it's time for them to get out of here, but we'll see.
Huda Chris is an incredible name. So after that, I have, and this is where I'm splitting them up. The couple's up. Chris and then Chelley, but they're sort of together.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Chris, sorry, you got dragged down because you're pulled into the mud by Huda.
Yeah.
Like it's just like straight up.
It's a shame. Really he was just on the worst scenes of the week. That's pretty much what it was. Yeah. He was on the worst scenes of the week, which is unfortunate for him.
And like he tried so hard not to get frustrated. He tried so hard to be a calm conflict resolution person. But at a certain point, he broke where he's like, I don't just want to resolve the conflict. I actually need to say how I feel.
Yeah.
And he was doing that with someone who did not care about how he feels. Like Huda does not care about how Chris feels about any of this stuff.
I don't think Huda really cares about how many people feel, unfortunately. I think she cares about how she's seen, but less so about how people feel. Docking points for Chris for bully ball in a pickup game. You're too tall to be doing that. Yeah.
And then I put Chelley next. And she could be higher. Ace and Chelley both could be higher, but I put Chelley next because genuinely sweet. And I know that I am 100% sure that Ace and Chelley have been dating for months purely because of how certain she was and how much she loved her man to say, Ace is going to win that basketball game. Yeah. That's all I know.
The way that she believed
like
it.
Someone in love. Yes.
The way that she halfway believed it when they came back. It was like Ace dunked everybody. She was like, what? He did?
Yeah. And she's singing on the couch like, all I know is Ace is going to win. Ace wins. It's like, that is someone in love and genuinely in love and cannot hide it anymore with the gameplay.
And she also said, America doesn't see Ace like I see, which is a woman. She's lost in the sauce. She is lost in the sauce, that man.
I put Ace second to last. Sorry, this is a Lifetime Achievement Award, and just because I can't trust this good week. Like you could turn around next week and like you could have the Joker mask back on.
Yes.
Like you're now at the Final Four. I don't know if he's pulled Chelley to the side, being like, "Hey, here's a game plan. We have to cause chaos. Like we need to trick Amaya into saying a racial slur so she gets voted off the show," type of thing. Like I can't move him higher than that just purely because I can't trust the goodness we saw for part of this week.
Yeah, there's still some gamesmanship left. I think my hope is that they all realize that at this point in the end game, you will make your $100,000. You know what I'm saying? Like you will make it's kind of like we remember who made it to the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Like winning the Super Bowl sometimes feels like an achievement in itself more so than who won. Like you made it to the Super Bowl. You're there. Kendrick Lamar is performing at halftime. Everything's fine to remember you for making it to the Super Bowl. Whoever won is great, but it's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not the be all end all. You made it. So like enjoy it.
We're never going to forget about the 2025 Indiana Pacers.
Right.
Like you make it. Right. Period. And then the last
speaking
one.
Of Amaya, Tyrese Halliburton like run that she's doing right now. It's just
buzzer beater after buzzer beater.
But just nonstop. Just one after the other. Taking down the juggernauts left and right by herself.
If she had in the America vote thrown the choke sign at Ace, like if she had been like every time he moved down and done this, like, I would have lost it, and it would have been completely warranted.
It would have been completely warranted. Like she has 3 weeks ago, she was 100% a 5 seed, and now she's just knocking people down left and right, and she could win this thing.
Yeah. Last in my power rankings, and this is with like off a cliff. After Amaya, a lot of people were bunched together, like even down to Ace, like. Yeah. I could hang out with Ace. I really could. Yes, I actually think it'd be Ace would be pretty fun to go to a party with. Like, I would have a good. He's 22, so not that much fun for us because we are middle-aged men, but like I think he's largely a good hang. I think that's been reflected by the fact that they, like Andrina said, that the villa follows Ace's mood. Like he's largely charismatic. He's smart. I don't think there's that much difference in how much I'd want to hang out with Ace versus Iris, who is second in this rankings. Amaya's at the top of this with the bullet because she'd just be fun and weird and it'd be great. Well, also with the same gap between Amaya and everyone else is the gap at the bottom, where Huda is like, I know this is going to piss people off. She's been called the people's princess online. She has over 2 million Instagram followers, and I'm sure people get in the comments, but Huda is the worst hang. She'd be unbearable. She's the bottom of the pair rankings. She's the dark cloud over the season. She's ruined
the fun episode of the babies. Like she ruined everybody was having a good time. And you ruin the vibes. And as somebody who was watching it, it had the same feeling of being there when everybody's hanging out and having a good time and some woman is yucking a dude's yum. And that was, and she did that consistently. She did it during the yoga thing, where he was leading the yoga. And yes, he forgot her name or forgot to mention her, but like, that's just a situation where, babe, you forgot me. She said, oh, my bad. I forgot you. And then and everybody laughs and you keep it moving. And for her to, just keep on ruining these moments. It's painful to watch. It's painful to be a part of.
She's one of the most solipsistic, self-absorbed reality TV characters I can remember, where she literally views everything through the prism of how it makes her feel. Like to your point about this, I don't know if she has done the work or has the capacity to care about anyone else at any point in this stuff. And it's exhausting. Like there were points, like there was an hour when watching her crash out with Jeremiah was fun. We are 30 hours after that. And it is no longer fun. Yeah. I come back to all of this. Summer's supposed to be fun. Love Island's supposed to be fun. Huda, not fun.
Not fun at all. Sorry, Huda.
So those are my power rankings. I'll read them back. I know they're chaotic. I know they aren't the best. They aren't the
Iris being so high is madness, buddy. That's a high ranking fire.
It's Amaya, Iris, Bryan, Nicolandria, Nick, Pepe, Chris, Chelley, Ace, Huda.
I just want to note.
Is Iris UVA both in looks and the fact that she could get knocked out in the first round in any of these rankings?
Iris might not make it to Thursday, to be honest. Like
there's a good chance she won't. But the thing that I know is that her and Pepe will be chill about getting voted off. They're like, whatever.
They'll be very chill. Pepe's got his blonde queen, so
that's exactly. Just last thing on this, Pepe, you having a type and also realizing that you've known these people for a week and it's easy to move on. Incredibly relatable. The fact that he's not attached to anyone who he's known for under a year in this stuff makes complete sense to me.
Yeah. Pepe's moving through the world in a very specific way.
Very, very much so. We won't give the comp for Pepe, but
no.
we're gonna close the show there. We'll be back on Sunday. Thank you to our reality TV expert David Dennis. You'll have Mina Kimes. I'll be off this. You'll get back to the pairing we need to close out this season of Love Island on Viewer Discretion. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Nicolandria High, we can do it. We can do it.